Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. We appreciate your attendance today. It's August the 9th, 2021, and we're starting a little early today because of the schedule of our special guest, and we're delighted to do that. I'm going to call on Larry Halsey to have us do the Star Spangled Banner. Like the Lord's early light was so proudly we there at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the fair ramparts we watched were so gallantly streamed. And the rocket's red flare, the bombs bursting in air, came through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a lot, you may be seated. We have a lot of guests today that we are delighted to welcome to Rotary. Too many to name, but if you are a guest of a Rotarian, would you stand and let us welcome you today? Very good, very good. Now for our invocation, will you bow your head with me? Let us turn to our source of spiritual strength and pray. May we have the wisdom to know what is right. May we have the compassion to feel what is right. May we have the strength to do what is right. And may we have the character to defend what is right. Bless our fellowship today and bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies. In your service, amen. I now will announce our chairman of the day, John Morris, who does not need an introduction to this club. John?
Thank you very much. It is great to be here, and I'm glad, aren't we all glad that we're meeting in person again? So terrific to be here, and I am a facilitator. That's my best job. Our guest is the head football coach at Baylor University, and who in the room has been here maybe the longest? What's the history? Like, how many years has the head football coach at Baylor spoken to Rotary about this time of year? How many years? Who knows that? What? Over 30? 40? Over 40? All right. I think that's right. I know it's been a long time and a long-standing tradition, and it's great that that can continue this year. Let me introduce to you and welcome up to the podium the head football coach at Baylor University, Coach Dave Aranda. Coach. Coach, we appreciate it, really making this work in your schedule. You started practice on Friday, and when Russell asked about having you here on Monday, August 9th, my first thought was, that's not going to happen, but you've made it happen. So thank you very much for working it in.
No, really blessed to be here. Thank you, guys. I'm losing my voice a little bit. Felt it this morning, but so excited to be here. I know that for us, our football team, and how hard we've been working, this is practice 4 for us. So we had meetings this morning. We had a walkthrough. We got a little bit of break. Guys just got done lifting about 10 minutes ago, and they're eating lunch and trying to take a quick nap prior to meetings. And we got a number 4 practice today, so we're going.
That's great. Is this normal? I mean, you lose your voice about 3 days in.
No,
It's not.
no, I'm excited for football, man. So I know that a lot of y'all. I apologize. I really wanted to go table to table. I got two in, and so wanted to be able to meet with y'all. But I'm excited. I can feel the excitement in here, and so usually I do lose it, but not this early.
That's pretty quick. How have things gone through the first? This is day 4. How have things gone so far?
We want to be a team that plays through our O-line and D-line. And so we are talking about the theme for this year is to pound the rock. And it's to be process oriented. It is to think about long-term vision instead of being all up and in with the instant gratification. It's about putting in work. It's about pounding the rock, even if you don't see a crack in it. If you don't see a mark, keep pounding it. Don't think if our play says to do this, don't think that ain't working because I ain't seeing it. I'm gonna go do that. Or if you're in shape and it's hot, don't think, I'm tired, man. This is too much for me. Right? I'm gonna do this easier thing than the hard thing we're being asked. I think, having success, I think is easy to understand. I think it's hard to do. So to pound the rock is to again and again and again stay on it. And it's led by our big people. So O-line and D-line leading the way. And that necessarily hasn't really been the case, particularly on one side of the ball. And so we're really focusing on that. A lot of good things yesterday. I was just talking one of the tables we had, and we had 5 team periods yesterday, 2.5 hour practice. So a lot of hitting and contact and all of it. I was really proud of the O-line. So far, so good.
Great. We want to talk football and get your thoughts on this year's team, but this group, I think, would be interested in your family. Tell everybody about Dion and your 3 kids and how everybody's acclimated to Waco so far.
They love it. Yeah. So Dion is my wife. We've been together since our sophomore year in high school. So I was a linebacker back then, and I didn't talk very much. And she was a cheerleader. And so she talked a lot. So we're able to have some good conversations, the two of us. And it hasn't really, not a lot has changed since that, to be honest, but she's been with me through all of it. And so she's my best friend. We've got 3 kids. So Jalen is my oldest girl. She's 16. She goes to Live Oak. She is a volleyball player, but really she loves theater, singing, dancing, reading. I think summertime we had to get her outside because she'd want to read, she's reading a book a day and all that. And then Jordan is my middle girl. So she's 14. She's a soccer player. She's travel team. And so it was something called like FC Waco, but they played all their games in Dallas. So there's a lot of traveling that we did. But it was fun to watch her play. She's really excited about playing. And she takes after my wife. Just a lot of energy, a lot of talking. When she's on, it's like on, And then my son is Ronan, and he's 12, and he's addicted now to video games. I think, before quarantine and COVID, we were outside a whole lot, so we're trying to get him to go outside a little bit more. But he's a great kid, plays football, basketball, baseball, and all of it. So really adjusted well, just the people that are on our block and the people at our school at Live Oak, very welcoming. So very blessed.
And Jalen, your oldest, is she's not responsible for you being at Baylor, but she was sort of an introduction to Baylor to you, wasn't she?
Yeah. So this was 2019, that season. I want to say it was in October. I was a defensive coordinator at my previous school, and we're in the season. And so there's not a whole lot. This is a Thursday. That's the day that generally, as coaches, you get off right after practice. So after practice, you could go right to your truck and go home. And so this is Thursday night. And Dion, my wife, she mentioned, she was kind of nudging the conversation. She goes, Jalen, you want to tell your dad what college you want to go to? And she said Baylor. And I asked her why. And because I remembered, I coached for Coach Browse and at Houston, and I was at Texas Tech with him. So I knew Baylor from that. And then she mentioned what it's like at Christmas at Baylor. She mentioned the people at Baylor. She mentioned the student-teacher ratio at Baylor. She mentioned everyone that's come out of Baylor. She was She mentioned the athletic teams. She mentioned the Christian atmosphere. And she showed me videos and the whole thing. And so it was that whole presentation that she did. She showed it to me then. And so I think it was about, a couple of weeks after that I got the call about Baylor.
That's pretty good. Good recruiter. She's
That's
a good
right.
recruiter.
That's right.
That's great. We love Jalen. We would be remiss if we didn't introduce Maddie Martin, who is with you and brought you over here. Y'all give a round of applause to Maddie. Works in the coach's office there for Baylor football and does a great job. So, Maddie, we appreciate you very much. Let me ask you this. A lot of business people in the room. There's all this swirling around about, a couple of schools are leaving the Big 12 conference. Just how do you your thoughts on that, and how do you handle that with your guys? How much, if any, do you talk about that?
Yeah, when that happened, right away, make some phone calls and see kind of what we're hearing back from the team. I was in Lake Travis. We were on vacation at that time. So the team was still here and working out. And the next day I drove down to be with the team during the lift, and a couple of our vets, so Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard, Rob Solon, these guys, I pull them aside and go, hey, is anyone talking about the league? Is anyone talking about what just happened? And for some of them, I had to tell them what happened. They didn't know. And then for the others, there was, does that coach, that has nothing to do with what we're doing. I go, okay, they're teaching me, And so it has really been on that path since then. And I figured it was going to be that way, just knowing our guys. And so I think I give a lot of credit to the coach who was your previous, Coach Rule. I think he set the groundwork for that in terms of what's right in front of you, knock it down. And we've tried our best to continue that. But our team is very much aligned that way. And so really since that point, the focus has kind of been on what we can control, what's right in front of us. I just feel my personal feelings with it is that we've got really great people that are fighting for us. Baylor is a great school with a great tradition of athletic success and academic success, and more importantly, just a great tradition of great people. And I know from the conversations that I have that people see that, recognize it, value it, and we're going to end up in a good spot.
That's great. That's a very mature response by your guys who are handling it that way. One of the things that you've talked about since you've been here is person over player. Explain that philosophy.
Yeah, it's way important to me. I think, sometimes when you meet people for the first time, it's almost, you want to make a good impression, and you almost bring up like a representative from somewhere inside of you. It's you meeting that person, but it's the representative is maybe someone that shirt's tucked in. If there was hair, it's combed nice. Saying all the right things, right? Maybe saying the things that you think the person wants to hear. That representative, and usually during that first conversation, and even further during that first conversation, when your representative piece is talking, I think what ends up happening is somewhere in there you're going, is this person that I'm talking to, is this person worth knowing, the real me? And I think there's schools, I as a coach and then I as a player have been on schools where you only value the player, or you only value what you do. So if you have success, then you're successful. And if you have failure, then you're a failure. And so it's either, this, or it's, this. Then you can be in representative mode the whole way through. And that doesn't do much for you when your playing days and your college career is done. So I feel like seeing the person first is getting past that representative mode, getting into your fears and anxieties, and getting into your values, and aligning those values with behavior and holding you accountable to those things. And then better people will then bring on better players. And so it's been focusing on character and focusing on identity. I think identity is a big one now. We were just talking about name, image, likeness a couple of minutes ago, and I feel like as good as that, I think it's a really good thing. And I'm a believer in it. I think one thing I will say is that, there's a lot of work to do with our young people on getting to know who they are and having it be an inside out process. And so name, image, likeness at times can value the doing. And there's a lot of work to be done on the being. And so it just heightens the coach and his impact and what he can do to help young people. So yeah, the person over player is everything.
And doesn't that fit in so well with what, Mac has instilled in the athletic department of preparing champions for life? It just fits that perfectly.
Yeah, you want to see, I think, the most important thing is the person that you become as a result of the chase. And so, we're all chasing something. And so are you becoming a better or worse person in that chase? Are you more or less anxious? Are you more or less trusting of other people? Are you have more or less empathy for other people, right? Is it all about you? Those things I think are, when you see it in those light, it's for a lot of our folks, it's a whole new world, but it's the main one.
The record book's going to show this your second year here at Baylor, but gosh, your first year was just, it's a mulligan. It's a mulligan of a coaching year with no spring practice, going through COVID protocols. You were meeting your players on Zoom, you're meeting your players' families on Zoom. That had to have been really tough to go through. But now that you're through that, and hopefully we're past the COVID, what are the benefits of getting through that and now being at the point where we are now?
I think it's way important. I think it's important to not forget those days, to not forget those times. I mean, there's a lot, selfishly, I would like to forget from it, but I think it's important not to. There's a lot of learning that I did in that time. I think there's a lot of learning our team did. I think, there's a lot of like, who is this guy? I understand, our players were saying this, like, who is this dude? I understand what he's saying, but is he real? And I think just something as simple as that, I think it's difficult to connect the dots when there's Zoom and there's spaces and there's all that, all of that. And I think a lot of the in-between moments, in between meetings, or maybe after practice in the locker room, those are all things where you can build. I think trust is built in drips, and you take it away in buckets. And I think the ability to build trust throughout, really since, really, to be honest, since all the way back. But I think the guys can now see it. I remember there's a point in December where it was pretty bad. It was frustrating and not what you would hope for. And I remember talking to a coach. I go, it's almost like there's a fog over the guys and they can't see it. And it was almost like if we were to say up, they would say down. If we were to say left, they would think it's right. And so I remember thinking, we just got to keep treating people the way that we want to be treated, and stay on the path that we're all about, and stay with great integrity. Because when this fog does lift, they'll see how it was, and they'll see how we were in tough times, and we can really bounce off of that. And I feel like that's what's happened. But easier said than done.
One analogy you made that I thought was really good was you thought you were more like a stepfather to some of these guys than a father because of the way, all the protocols and everything you had to go through.
Yeah, you want to be able to have guys. I think I knew guys were struggling, whether it was maybe previous coach would do this and now I would like to do this, to do something else, or maybe it's just COVID and not seeing their families for however long, or maybe it's the third or fourth time they're either isolated or quarantined, or maybe it's we're losing all these games, whatever. There's a bunch you could choose from. So you could see guys were struggling. And so I would want to be able to get in and help. And there was a few that would open up, but the majority of them, you could tell that something was wrong, but you couldn't get them to talk to. And so it was almost like a slow motion car crash, right? If you you're going to run into this thing and it's just slowing down as you see it through. But I think to stay the path and to get to whatever level they're at and to kind of nudge them into a connection, I feel is always the right way. And so I think they see that now.
Even through all that, you saw the need and made changes on your staff, especially on the offensive side. Tell everybody about, Jeff Grimes, Eric Mateos, Chancey Stuckey, new coaches on the offensive side. and Jeff Grimes is the new offensive coordinator. What's the offense going to look like this year?
Yeah, I think the identity of the offense is really important. And so, we're going to be a team that's really going to focus on playing one play really, really good. And then having that one play, we talk about in terms of a baseball pitcher and a fastball. So we can get a fastball to the point where folks that are up at the plate really have to get back in the batter's box and to try to time out that fastball. Then it makes our changeup and our curveball that much better. That fastball approach is different than saying, I remember when I was growing up, who was it? Phil Necro. Give me some other pitchers, knuckleball pitchers.
Gaylord Perry.
Yeah. So there you go. So like guys that would just, have this pitch and that pitch and this other pitch and, where's the Vaseline and all these other pitches, And so we just want like a really strong fastball and a change and a curve off of that look the same. Allows our guys to play fast. I think on that side of the ball, particularly, I think building confidence is important. And I think when you can do simple better, you're allowing guys to build confidence with technique and execution and that. And so we're starting to see that. I mean, really, we're at the point now where on the practice fields, there is an edge that's there. We've got to be able to get it to when we get into scrimmages and we cross the bridge to come into McLean. And we've got some alphas on the defensive side. And we're going to have to be able to make that step, which I feel we will. But I think the ability to have a real strong identity is the first step there. I think Jeff Grimes is a great person, very, very confident dude, very humble guy as well. And I think having those two things at the same time is very rare. In a coach, it's one or the other. And so to have both, we're blessed to have him. Great family man, Christian. He's a great role model for our guys. And I think staff-wise, it's tight and cohesive. Excited about what we're building.
Is his offense the fastball? That's what you're going to do most of the time. That's the foundation. That's what it's built on.
Mhm.
Your changeup, your curveball. That's maybe going to be who is running that offense. Is that fair to say?
Could be. I mean, getting into quarterbacks, but I, like the fastball would be like the wide zone. And so, if trying to think the best way to say it, we were a tight zone team, which was really more trying to run straight ahead, right? So there was double teams, and so 5 linemen, right? And then there'll be 3 D linemen, 2 linebackers. So you get double teams off the 3 guys up to the 2 guys. And so now what we're doing, the wide zone is getting guys to run off the ball. And I'm going to run full speed off the ball. And whatever comes in this zone, I'm going to take. If there's nothing in this zone, I'm going to work up to the second level. So it allows for a more aggressive approach, right? Because if you're doubling somebody, it's if I fire out at him, then somebody's singled. If there's a line move, if the guy that we're singled moves, then advantage the other side. So when we're all working in unison, running off the ball, we can move people. And so then having play action pass off of that will be the curveball. But then I think as quarterback goes, we want to be able to have the ability to feature the quarterback that we've got. And they're battling right now, so I'm up in the office at whatever time it is, 6 a.m. And Gary Bohannon pops his head in. He's got like a coffee in his hand and he's asking about, play number 5 of the second team. And so we're talking about that. So like he's in, he's going, right? And then Jacob Zeno is doing the same thing, right? Visiting after practice, right? With his notes, going through it with Sean Bell. And so there's great competition. I think there's going to be a base offense, but then according to who the quarterback is, we're going to allow that guy to be him and use his talents.
Very good. On defense, that's, you would say, the strength with all the returning guys, Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie, a lot of those guys are coming back. But you got a new name and a new face in the defensive front. How excited are you about Apu Ika?
Yeah, Apu was something. Yeah, so Apu is 6'4", about 370. Apu was with us at LSU. I was a part of his recruitment. He's from Salt Lake City, from East High School in Salt Lake City. And so generally, East High School is maybe 2 blocks from the University of Utah, and so a lot of great players have come out of East High School, and almost all of them have gone to be a youth, and so that that in itself, just Apu leaving the state to go to school he went to, says a lot in terms of just kind of what's inside of him. But he, he's a singer, he's a dancer, right? He's a football player. We're trying to get him to enjoy school as much as he enjoys the other things, But he has been a motivational guy for our team, and it's really changed the front in terms of their expectation, their standard, their edge. Respect and all and fear none. He's changed that room.
Yeah, fair to say he's a game changer, or can be a game changer.
Yeah, there's a great example. I was watching it this morning from yesterday, and so we're working. So we're in. So 3-4 means we've got Apu plays right over the center, and then we've got two defensive ends that play over the offensive tackles. So there's going to be a center, 2 guards, and 2 tackles. So Apu's right here, and then we've got 2 guys that are out here, and so we've got ourselves a good little center group, whether it's Xavier Newman or we've got some guys that are rotating in right there. And so they're going to work a scoop. They're running off the ball, the scoop Apu, and then work up to Terrell. And it didn't work out that way for our offense that particular play. Apu was driving them back. Center is this way. And the end result is they can't get to Terrell. It was a 3-yard tackle for loss. And so you have to be creative, I think, when Apu's in there because of the mismatch that he is, and so that allows Terrell, that allows Jalen Petrie, that allows Christian Morgan to be able to put in plays that we can play off of their adjustment to Apu. So it's a good first strike.
Right. What do you think about the league overall this year?
A lot of guys back. We've got a lot of guys back, but there's a lot of guys back throughout. I feel like there's my 2 main takeaways would be the respect for the coaches and their in-game adjustments. And, I think skill-wise, there's not a lot of difference in the teams. I'm not seeing, here's so-and-so team and here's this other team, and there's this huge difference. It's not. The breaks in the game are very small, and we have to do the simple things better. And so that'd be number 1. 2 would be, I think, the scheme on the O and D. So 12 personnel, so 1 back, 1 running back, and two tight ends, tight end on either side, and then 2 receivers. It's getting to be the predominant personnel group. In some ways, the Big 12 is turning into like the Big 10 in terms of the formations and the personnel groups that you're seeing. Iowa State, I think, has a lot to do with that and the success that they've had. Kansas State, Kansas now. The school he was at before was in Buffalo, and they were a huge 12 personnel team, 5 zone team, and so a lot of tight ends. The Big 12 is a tight end league, at least from what I can see. And I know, I was at the media days, and I think I said some of these things. People were looking at me kind of cross-eyed, but I wasn't in the league prior, to last year. I'm just saying what I'm seeing. And then I think the other side of it, the scheme part, is defense, and there's really strong defenses. I think people that take a lot of chances. I wouldn't necessarily say Big 12 is a lot of sound defenses, but there's a lot of havoc. There's a lot of calculated risks people are taking, and a lot of times it's paying off. So, yeah, excited to get going.
How do you like the way your schedule lines up? We've got 7 games right here at McLean Stadium this year.
Love that. I know our guys are way excited about that, and I know when I meet with our players and their parents. Parents are way excited about that. I know my kids are excited about it, right? When Jalen was telling me about Baylor, I would end up watching Baylor from that point, kind of follow them. We school I was at, we were playing, after everyone was done playing, and Baylor was too. And so just the highlights I would see of what McLean looked like when it's rocking and all of it. I mean, we're watching that as a fan, like y'all. And so I'm excited to get to that.
That's great. Final thought, what's your message to this group? Again, a lot of business people are here and so much support for Baylor, in the business community. I mean, it's Baylor and Waco hand in hand. I mean, when Baylor succeeds, Waco succeeds and vice versa. Is that the message you'd like to send to these folks?
Well, I appreciate you guys including me for this. It humbles me. Whatever I can do to help, I'd like to help y'all. If there's things that I can do, I'd like to do it. I'd like to be more involved in what I am. I think there's times where we come out of COVID and we're trying to do that now. I think I don't want it to be what we're used to. It's kind of what it is now. I want to be able to get out and get around more, and I want to help more. So that'd be the first thing. The other thing I would say would be just I take a lot of pride in who we are and who our players are, and really who we're striving to become. And so we've got good kids, good people, and we're going to put out a team that you guys can be proud of.
Good. Coach, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
All
Thank
right.
you guys.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah. Coach Dave Aranda. We're going to let him get back to the afternoon practice today. And I know y'all will understand that, but really do appreciate Coach making time in his schedule to be here with us today. September 4th is the season opener. That's on the road. It's at Texas State. How and why we're going to Texas State, I'll never know. But we're going to Texas State for the opener on September 4th. The home opener is here against Texas Southern on September 11th. And then conference play begins the next week. We got a conference game, and it is the Big 12 conference. Let me not just say conference. Proud of the Big 12 conference. We'll play Kansas on September 18th. So that's the opening stretch for Baylor, and 7 home games this year. So there's plenty of opportunities to come see and support Coach Aranda and support this team this year. One other thing, let me mention, we'll be back in this room on August 26th for the Chamber kickoff luncheon. So tickets are available for that right now if you're interested. And hear more from Coach Aranda and plenty more on that date. But it is an honor to be with you. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed hearing from Coach. And Rosemary, I'm going to hand the ball back to you.
Thank you, John. I know that our club is proud that we could continue the tradition in person this year, having the Baylor football coach, and we wish him well. Thank you for having made the arrangements for him to be with us today. I'd like to re-welcome all the guests today. We hope that you'll visit again and maybe consider becoming a Rotarian. Waco Rotary Club is always open to new members. Our next meeting is August the 23rd, and our program will be our new Waco Police Chief, who is also a new Waco Rotary Club member, Chief Cheryl Victorian. Now we'll stand and do the 4-way test. Is it the truth? We're all concerned. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial? Thank you all. Rotary is adjourned.